Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're going to repair the roof on my friend's Scania. I've done some work on this truck before, fitting some lights and tidying up the electronics. In this video though, we've just got a quick fix to do. The issue is, my friend has some mobility problems and can't reach down to pick up the truck, so he tends to use the roof aero as a handle, which obviously isn't brilliant, and it has of course broken. You can see where the posts have snapped off on the mounting plate. Normally a bit of plasti weld would do the trick, but we're going to need to be a bit more structural. So we've got some penny washers, some long M3 screws, lock washers and some plain nuts. The plan is to reinforce the posts with the screws so they're nice and solid. This will of course move the stress to the posts in the roof aero, so it's just going to be temporary. Ultimately, we'll need to design the handle to fit and bear the weight of the truck, but I haven't had time with all the doctor and hospital visits for the last couple of weeks. Right then, so first we need to remove the front bumper from the chassis by removing its two screws. It's wired up to some electronics, so we can just swing it to the side so we can get at the two screws attaching the cab to the chassis. Remove them along with the clip at the back of the cab and we can tilt it forwards, laying it down on its nose. Then we remove the two stay screws and unhook it, unplug the beacons, and we can separate the cab from the chassis. Next, to remove the roof, there's four screws. The two at the rear are easily accessible, but the two at the front are a bit of a pain. But with some care, we can just about get in without having to remove the dashboard and the seats. Right, now we can start the repair proper. We need to keep the remains of the posts, but we do need to remove the two self-tappers from the inside. We'll end up drilling them out, but for now we'll leave the posts in the roof so we can keep track of which side is which. Inside the roof aero, there's two more screws to remove so we can remove the plate. You can also see I've previously added a toggle switch which turns the ESC on and off, again so it's easier for my friend. The toggle switch is easy to have a swipe at to turn the truck on and off. If we look at the plate, it's pretty obvious where the post broke off. We'll need to drill out the plate where they were with a 3mm bit so we can add the screws, like so. Also, we need to remove the posts and drill them out to 3mm too, making sure we keep track of which is which. We're going to need to glue the posts onto the plate using some poly cement to fill any gaps. To make sure it's all straight, we'll also need to add the screws. Now I'm using M3x25s with penny washers, which go through the plate. Then we add some cement around where the post broke off, slide the post on and add a bit more cement to the threads and press the post into place. Same on the other side. Then we can add a nut on each one to squeeze the parts together. We don't need the nuts done up all that tight, just enough to bring the parts together while the cement dries. Now before we do anything else, we need to leave it to harden up a bit, so I'll be back in an hour. Right, the post should be fairly stable now, so we can put it all back together. First, the plate gets reattached to the roof aero. Then we can carefully remove the two nuts holding the posts on. Offer it up to the roof and press the threads and posts into the holes. But because the cement is still a bit delicate, I'm pressing down on the screw heads rather than the aero to make sure it doesn't all fall to bits. Then on the inside we add a penny washer, a lock washer and a nut on each of the screws. And of course we nip them up. Not too tight though, we are compressing the plastic posts, which aren't the hardest things in the first place. And there we go, that's the repair done. You'd never know from the outside, and it does feel quite solid. Good enough for a little while at least. We still need to do a proper job and make it safe to pick the truck up, but it'll get the truck running for the next meet. All that's left is to put the rest back together. Plug the connectors back in, reattach the cab to the chassis, and refit the bumper. Okay, and now for the final structural test. Can we lift the truck? Well, it still doesn't feel good, but it does work. I suppose we should make sure the electronics still work too. So we'll plug in a battery and fire it up. My friend uses a 6-cell NiMi with a Tamiya connector for power and a Spectrum wheel radio to control the truck, on which channel 3 does the headlights. The beacons are always on, which is partially due to lack of channels, and partly due to my friend wanting to make sure everybody knows he's coming. And well, there we go. A quick video, but a proper RC one. I've nearly got all my medical stuff sorted out, just a couple of prescription things to finalise and the dosages, but we're nearly there. Right, anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!